This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trends in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Hey, thank you for joining me. I'm Judith Mancini. It was an interesting morning for me today. We were celebrating D-Day here in the United States, as well as having the big, I shouldn't say celebrating, we were thanking people and recognizing D-Day. It's not exactly a celebration since so many people were killed, but it was a celebration of bringing the countries together that were involved in the D-Day assault in Normandy. And it was quite touching. The leaders of all the countries were there that were involved. And if they had first ladies, they were involved. It was very interesting. The people describing it were explaining what the 21-gun salute was, and I never really actually realized this, but it was 3 guns shooting 7 times multiplies out to 21. There's different ways of looking at it. That's 3 guns, but as somebody said this morning, you can have it where they have enough guns to shoot off 3, and that's it. So it's an interesting thing to me, and they always explain what TAPs are and all of that. But what was also interesting to me was one of the commentators was talking about living in different parts of Europe during his budding career, and all of the cemeteries that have been devoted to the United States men and women who were in the service during World War II and participated in these different battles, particularly the one at Normandy. Some of these kids that volunteered, they lied to the recruiting offices because they were so adamant of supporting and protecting their country. They would go and they'd be only 16 years old. And of course, you had to be 18 to be emancipated and become a soldier or naval person, whatever you were going to join, which branch of the military you're going to join. So it was interesting to me that so many were 16-year-olds. And also it was interesting to me to find out that they were so meticulous about taking care of our fallen military that they did everything possible when there were multiple people in a family killed, and they put them together in the different cemeteries. They specifically pointed out 3 brothers that were together, and they pointed out a father and son that were together. And on the other hand, the other day I saw on Facebook or some social media site, there was a mother, a picture, a black and white picture of a mother and her 5 boys who had all volunteered and gone and fought, and every single one of them came back and survived. And I thought, what a blessing that was from God. So many people lost relatives in that war, and that war came back and showed how devoted people are to the United States and our way of living and protecting our country. Boy, how things have changed. But it was an amazing thing to me that even if you couldn't go in, it's not so amazing now, but it was when I was studying World War II at the beginning of high school and all of those things that you go through, how many people in the United States that couldn't go, and they went in and they worked in the factories and they built the gardens, the gardens to grow their food, and there was rationing, and it was amazing how the United States pulled together and how the other countries did. And many of them lost their lives doing it, and some of them never saw their loved ones again. And we were trying to protect the people who had been snatched up by the Gestapo and sent to the terrible crematoriums, and shot some of them and tortured some others thinking they were spies. It was a horrible, nasty war. But these countries all pulled together to fight against them. So we were really fortunate that we had so many people that wanted to protect our country. And we still do. There's many, many patriotic people, and many of my friends served in Vietnam, whether they were drafted or whether they volunteered, as my brother did. So here's to the men and women who are in the military in the different areas where they can protect us. And I hope and pray that they continue to be patriots like all of us, and the United States will long be the leader in the free world. Well, another thing I wanted to point out was during this celebration, or this recognition of the men, it is a celebration for some of them because some of them fought and they're still alive. And the next one would be the 50-year-old recognition of D-Day. And there was one man who spoke, and he was 100 years old. He'd be 120 for that recognition. And we're wishing him well and hope he will be around to see that. Because these survivors of that time are very appreciative of being recognized. So what I also wanted to say is I watched an interview with former President Trump last night. And then this morning, I saw the live speech of President Biden over at Normandy. I've seen lots of rallies for President Trump. As you all know, I'm supporting him. And the interesting thing to me is not because I'm supporting President Trump, but the difference in the energy, the speaking, the gestures, the walking, all of that. And as I'm looking today at the group in Normandy, and they were showing all the leaders of the different countries stepping out of their transportation and walking up the aisle to meet the Macrons, the leader of the French. And all of these people are younger. It makes sense to me that younger people serve. Now, I'm not talking, they're not in their 20s. Some of them are very young. But we will have somebody who's in their 80s who already has some aging problems. I'm sorry he does, but I don't think that physically, mentally, he is able to handle this job and deal with leaders of the world that are at the top of their game. It's no secret that Biden is at the bottom of his game, mentally and physically. So that is my big concern. We are facing some nasty, nasty opposition, we'll call it. China, North Korea, Iran, Russia. You know, this is not a good time for us. It's not a good time for the world. And I think we need a stronger person in office who has more energy and the brain intellect capacity to protect us and be respected. So that's enough of that. Okay, that's just my thoughts on the abilities of the two men, whether you like them politically or not. I'm just talking about the physical and mental abilities. Today, I'm delving into the news for keeping your man healthy. I know we always talk about healthy and wealthy and wise for the women, but today I'm devoting it to men. And the reason I am, let me go on, I want to tell you about this. Whether it is a lover, a husband, a son, a brother, an uncle, or a friend, you will want to hear about the latest treatment for non-cancerous enlarged prostate, plus the top reasons to have your loved one always have a complete physical. There are some graphic terms used in the descriptions of these medical treatments, and so please be 18 or older if you're going to be listening. And remember that we don't endorse any kind of medical or health or doctors or anything like that. You need to go do your own research, and I'll tell you where you can go for that, for this new procedure, to learn more about it on your own and see if it's for you. But I'm going to tell you about it because it directly impacts my life as well as my husband's and some of our friends, a lot of our friends, quite frankly. There are many, many millions of men who suffer from BPH, which this is the enlarged prostate. And so many of them are cancerous, but what we're talking about today is the non-cancerous prostate problem that people are having. So we have lots of symptoms of this BPH, this prostate symptom. I don't even remember what these are for, but these are the urinary symptoms for the prostate problem that makes you have to go urinate constantly, all the time, sometimes more at night. And I want to read the symptoms off to you. So you might want to pick up a pen and a piece of paper and write down what the symptoms are. This is not for somebody who just decides to drink 10 glasses of water at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and go to bed at 9 o'clock. Of course, you're going to have to get up and go pee-pee. This is for somebody who is really having a problem. Now, before you do any of this, you need to be diagnosed. And we're going to talk about men and going to the doctor a little bit later. But I want you to get this information in your head and write it down because I think it is cutting edge. And I was excited about it. My husband was excited about it. When I get it out to all my friends that I urge to listen today, they will be excited about it. And the women in their lives will be excited about it. Okay, so one of the symptoms is incomplete emptying. You decide you're going to go to the bathroom and urinate because you got the calling to do it. So you run in there and you start to urinate, but it just trickles out and doesn't exactly satisfy your urge. So the next one is, do you have to do it all the time? Half the time, more than half the time, always, all day long, so that you're jumping up every 20 minutes, every 30 minutes? Or do you have it intermittently still, where you won't have it, you'll just feel like it once in a while that you have to run out and take care of your business? You might be at a restaurant, you might be at a shopping center, you might be, oh goodness, in a meeting at work. This hits people at a young age. It sometimes starts as early as in the 40s or the late 30s. So it gets to be a little embarrassing for you once in a while. And I know it's not pleasant. So you want to take of check on how, sorry, my phone's on and I didn't mean it to be. So you want to keep track of how many times you have the urgency to run to the bathroom. So you'll know if it is intermittently or frequent. You want to take all of these symptoms that you have and mark them down and then take them to the doctor, like we're going to tell you for your physicals that you need to be taking once a year. It's also a weak stream. Remember when you were a youth and you could, pardon my language, pee across the room? I know guys play stupid games sometimes, and I can remember when my brother was about 11, 12, and he was with our cousins on the farm, and that seemed to be the game of the day all the time. Stupid. But sometimes guys are a little different than women. We don't have contests about urinating. Okay, how about straining? Do you strain to go to the bathroom? You have this horrible push, this urge that you have to go, but all of a sudden you can't. So you're straining to go and nothing comes or it trickles. So that part of straining should be written down too, as to trickling and urgency and all of that. And then, of course, there's sleeping. And sleeping, when you go to bed, I mean, I'm talking to people that are older here now. I'm talking to our friends who are in our 70s, 60s, 50s, and on up. Sleeping. Do you get up once a night? Do you never get up? Do you get up once a night? 2, 3, 4 times? You're having disrupted sleep. But you know what? It's not only disrupting sleep. When you get up to go to the bathroom, there's no telling what you might run into or trip over. I mean, hopefully you don't leave your shoes in the middle of the room, but you could just trip over your own feet because you're groggy, you're half asleep. And that is dangerous because you can fall and break something, a hip, a leg, an ankle, an arm, or worse, you could hit your head, get a concussion, cause a broken neck. It's dangerous when you're getting up and going to the bathroom trying to find it every night, 3, 4, 5 times. Okay, and what about the quality of life? You know, only 5% of men will do something about this problem of the men who have it, and there are millions of men who have this problem. And the number one reason why they won't treat it with surgery is because apparently they're afraid that it will impact their sexual life. So what I have found when I was watching the news yesterday or the day before, I guess it was at the beginning of the week, Monday, the beginning of Men's Health Month, I saw this very interesting program that had Dr. Siegel on Fox News, and he and the hostess, Lisa, I believe it was, were talking about this new treatment for IPS. That's International Prostate Symptom Score. I don't know that IPS is what it is. I think it's PSS. I'll have to find that for you. So this was talking about this new program, Aquablasmia. Where is my note? Well, it's what it is it is a robotic BPH. Okay, sorry. It's aquablation. Sorry, I'm not into medical terms. It's a robotic surgery which removes the excess tissue inside the prostate. Now remember, this is for non-cancerous swelling of the prostate. it goes inside to the prostate and uses an ultrasound high frequency power saline water jet, and it takes out the excess tissue. It goes back and forth. It takes out the excess tissue, which is pushing on your bladder. And it's done without the excess heat of the traditional surgery procedures that go on. And it does not interfere with your sex life. And that is why only 5% of men go to be treated for an enlarged prostate. They're afraid it will hurt their sexual life. But it actually already is hurting their sex life because they can't have sex if they have to always get up and pee. So, you know, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. But this one sounds like you're not, because you can recover within a week and you'll be ready to continue your sex life and you'll be a happy camper, okay? Now, where I found this, and I'm not going to speak anymore on it because I'm not an expert and I want you to do your own research. You can go on to the June 3rd, Monday, Fox News under Dr. Siegel, Siegel, and he will explain this on there, and there's even some video on it. Now, I'm not recommending this. The show isn't recommending it. The radio station isn't recommending it. Nobody here is recommending it. We're telling you about the latest discovery because I personally think it's a breakthrough for men's health. The Medicare and insurance apparently covers it. There are not too many people that are doing it. And the one that they mentioned was the Colorado Skyridge Medical Services, where there's a Dr. Ali Saram, that's A-L-I, and then last name is S-A-R-R-A-M. He's done a little more than 150 of these new, there are invasive sort of surgery. Apparently this goes up through your anus and your rectum and it goes into there and shaves it off with this machine that has the high powered saline solution taking it off. There are a few side effects. Now the side effects when somebody has one of these enlarged prostates and it's non-cancerous, there are things out there on the market that you can take like Flonase. That helps you. The problem with a lot of these medical pills and things you take like that is that they have the side effects of causing dizziness and trouble walking because you're dizzy and things like that. And it seems to affect your sex life also. So a lot of people can't take those. And some of the people can't take them because they have other things wrong with them, like emphysema, lung problems, heart problems, things like that. So a lot of men will not be treated because of the side effects of the medications. And a lot of them are, quite frankly, afraid of any surgery because of it affecting their sex life. Okay, let's face it, that's a big deal. Okay, so go to Fox News, Dr. Siegel. They have a lineup of what their shows are about, and it's June 3rd, Monday, June 3rd, the first day of Men's Health. Okay, so I walked you through that, which I just think is an amazing new discovery. So we'll see how it goes and make sure your insurance and Medicare covers it. Make sure you get all the information you need. Find your own urologist. Ask him what he thinks. But please remember a lot of times that people think the latest opportunity to control your own health is not good for you. And this happened during the time of statins a few years ago. oh yes, statins will lower your cholesterol, and it does lower your cholesterol. But do you really need to lower your cholesterol? Do you realize you need cholesterol in your body for all sorts of things? So you don't want to get rid of all your cholesterol. And there are natural ways you can control your cholesterol. Too many men have gone on statins. You notice I said men because they very seldom give them to women. I don't know why. They tried to put me on them, and I don't have high cholesterol. They did put my husband on them. Now, he grew up with a Mediterranean diet. He's been truly very healthy since I've known him, but that's because I take good care of him and I make him eat right. I can't get him to stop smoking. So his problem with his heart is strictly because of smoking, and he knows I'm talking about him. Excuse me. All right, so he had some problems with his heart, his veins. He doesn't need statins. What statins have done to him are weakened his muscles to the point where he can barely walk. And I said this from the very beginning. When they first put me on it for no reason, I said, okay, you know best. I don't know why, because I've been in the natural health business all my life practically. So I took them, and I'm living back east with my husband, and I come out to visit my son and his wife and their new baby, who is now a toddler. And I hadn't seen him walking, and she opens the door, and here comes my little Connor. And he had just learned to walk, and he's running down the sidewalk to meet me. And I bend down to pick him up, and oh my gosh, I almost dropped him. My left arm was so weak, never in my life. Now, I've worked out off and on all my life, mostly off, but I have worked out. I could barely pick him up. And that's when I went back to the doctor and said, forget it. I'm not taking the statins, but I will take something to make sure that my cholesterol doesn't go up. Now, I eat a healthy diet, and a steak now and then is not going to raise your cholesterol to a very scary point. My husband's cholesterol has never been high. We eat fish, we eat vegetables, we eat a very healthy diet. We do drink occasionally a little red wine, a little white wine. We've given up pretty much hard liquor. There's nothing wrong with having a drink a day. They'll tell you not to drink any alcohol. Well, there's some doctors out now that are telling you not to eat an egg because it gives you brain fog, and others telling you to eat eggs because it improves your memory. Now, which one are you going to listen to? And then they're the ones that tell you, don't eat certain fruits, don't eat tomatoes, which is a fruit, because you don't want the lecithins in it, this and that. Eat a healthy diet. Those people in Europe and China and Japan and different places that live to be so old into their hundreds, they don't listen to all this baloney. Yes, I'm into natural health. I'm into things that help you. Herbs, supplements, eating healthy. I don't put a pyramid on my head and say, pyramid, make me live a long life. But I am 77 now, okay? I have a grandma on each side, a maternal great-grandmother grandmother and a paternal great-grandmother. They both lived over 100. They both had all their wits about them, and they both walked perfectly fine. One was skinny, one was a little overweight. She was a little overweight because she sat all the time and loved to play solitaire, and then she loved to play games with me and my brother. So that's what she did. She sat on her bum the whole time, and she didn't exercise. Well, finally, when she was about 103, and she was the one who took up painting in her 90s and kept it up through her hundreds, just like some of the older people that are so famous. So Grandma Moses is who I'm thinking of, but my Grandma Ella took it up and she was quite good. So I have one painting of hers left. But she eventually missed a step and fell down and broke her hip. And the inactivity after breaking the hip often causes the death of the patient. Well, when you're 103, your organs are starting to wear out, at least starting to. But that was her, shall we say, downfall into spiraling into death, was that fracture. So what I'm saying is, you want to explore everything. Now, maybe the people that invented this new prostate thing think it's great. I didn't see any studies on it or anything. That's why I want you to do your own research. I want you to get into there and watch that. Even if you're not a Fox News fan, okay? I don't care about that. What I care about is you going and watching this short video. It's not even, I doubt that it's 3 or 4 minutes long. Maybe it's a little longer because they're telling a brief story about a man who did have the surgery and he needed it and it has totally changed his life. It talks about him having an accident of urinating in a public place through his pants, his underwear, his pants and everything, and he was totally humiliated. So I'm sure there's some of you out there that this has happened to. I don't want it to happen to you anymore. So explore all these options. Take a look at that on the Fox News, Dr. Siegel, June 3rd. It's a very short time in your life. And then go talk to your doctor and listen to what he says. But if he doesn't know anything about it, then call around and find another one. Use that Medicare and that insurance. Okay, so why I'm doing this is because I want all men to take control of their health. And if you're not going to, you need somebody who loves you and cares for you, whether you're a man who's not married and you have a best female friend who's just a friend, or maybe she's a lifetime partner, I don't know. But maybe it's a buddy that can tell you about this. You need to have a physical. Now, here's a little problem that some people tell me they have. When should I take my daughter to an adult doctor instead of a pediatrician? When should I take my son to an adult doctor? And should I take him to a pediatrician forever? Okay, usually your pediatrician will tell you around 18 is a good time to transition to an adult doctor. And that is a good rule of thumb. That's when most kids graduate from high school and go on to university or to their first job or whatever they're going to be doing. And they have to take control of themselves and their own health also when they're figuring out what they want to do with the rest of their life. You can't have the rest of your life and be healthy, wealthy, and wise unless you take care of your health first. So, with a boy, the 18-year-old is a pretty good reason to go see an adult doctor. It could be earlier if the boy has matured more between 16 and 18, and definitely if he is participating in sex, he needs to be checked for STDs, and that's a good reason to start with an adult doctor. Now, many athletes in high school and younger go to the doctor to be checked out for athletic ability, meaning, are your bones still strong? Are your lungs still strong? How is your heart? Those things. So that's a good reason to go to an adult doctor rather than a pediatrician, because they're more well-versed in what an athlete is doing. Let's skip over to the girls just for 1 minute here. So when should you take your daughter to an adult doctor? Or should she stay at the pediatrician? Well, it's a little easier to figure out with girls because they have menses. They start their periods. And you can start your period around 11 years old. Sometimes it's kind of different, but sometimes they might start their period around 8 years old. I think that happens more in Eastern Mideastern countries because of the marriage age and all, although this is changing as the world changes too. So a young girl could start her periods at 11 years old, let's say. Well, I don't know that I would want to take my daughter to an adult doctor at that time. Again, unless she becomes sexually active. And God forbid, don't have your daughter become sexually active at 11 years old just because she started her period, for goodness sakes. You need to talk to your kids, and you need to be serious, and you need to be kind and loving. So I'm not going to talk anymore about the girls. That's for the regular podcast. But at this time, I do want you to think about getting your son to adult doctors. And there's many, many reasons to do that. One of the things I want to talk about is what are the causes of most death for males and young men. And between 21, the teenagers 18 and all, it's really kind of sad what happens. Most of the deaths come from accidents. You know, they're out racing their car and acting stupid. My son used to jump off the top of the roof into the swimming pool. And when I found this out, because this was a house we were redoing and building, I could have, if I ever wanted to smack him, I could have smacked him then, because he and his friends were doing that. It's stupid. Boys take chances they should never take. Now, I told the story on my podcast a while ago about how my brother and I used to play together all the time when we were growing up. And we would climb on the roofs and climb off the roofs and this and that. But our roofs were low. They weren't 2 and 3 stories high. Our roofs were low. There was no way, unless we pushed somebody, that they would fall off. We're talking about jumping into a pool from 2.5 stories high. Dumb. But they come from car accidents and other, I dare you to do this. I dare you to do this. This is how they become injured, and this is how they get killed, by taking terrible risk. A lot of children are taking and drinking those crazy energy drinks to get more stamina and energy, but they're not exactly healthy. Now, some people, of course, the people backing the manufacturers of these tell you that they're not harmful, but they actually are. I've read articles where they say there's at least 4 cancer-causing things in each one of these cans, like I will say Red Bull because it's the most famous and the one that kids drink the most. Forget about all of these things, and it's just not good for you. Sugar, caffeine, crazy. And then Red Bull sponsors these extreme sports. Now, I haven't looked up the statistics for that. I'm only interested in giving you the statistics right now for personal things, and it's not good. All right. In 2021, there was a study done to see what the median age was for men to survive to, and it was 73. So if you've reached 73 and you've gone beyond, you're probably in pretty good health, okay? An interesting thought on that also is most of the men that did reach 73 and beyond were married for at least 2 years. So thank you, wives. I will have to tell you, my husband got pneumonia every year I married him. When I met him when he was living in Pittsburgh. And I was doing business in Pittsburgh. He got pneumonia every year. And when we finally got together, got married, I put him on a doctor's list. I went to the doctor with him, and at that point, I decided I would be his advocate in health as well as his wife in health. And we went to the doctor, and I told him that this guy, we went because he had pneumonia, and I went and talked to them and all. Well, point is, we've been married 28 years, and he's never had pneumonia again. Healthy diet, low alcohol consumption, not smoking. Well, my husband does 1 out of 2 out of 3. At any rate, he is basically very healthy. Now, he doesn't get enough exercise, and he did have a little problem with his veins. He's had 1 heart operation where they did a bypass, but it wasn't really out of the body type stuff. It wasn't a stent, and he survived. Obviously, he's sitting here across from me in the studio, and he's basically pretty healthy. He would be healthier if he'd get up and walk more, but those damn statins keep his legs weak. But we're going to resolve that because we have new doctors. All right, so under 30, the most deaths occur for men during accidents, which I described, daring people to do crazy things, car accidents, speeding, doing street racing, or you're distracted because you're looking at your phone or your playlist. Excuse me. It's so dusty down here with the wind blowing so hard, my nose is just itching to death, which sometimes means somebody's coming. So the other thing is, and I find this just appalling, homicide and suicide. Suicide is the saddest thing to me because, as you all know, my son committed suicide. He was 49 years old. It doesn't excuse it, and it doesn't ease the pain. But to see these young kids, girls and boys, committing suicide basically because they're being targeted on social media, or they have abusive parents, something like that. It's a terrible, terrible thing. Over 30 and starting in the 40s, the reason for death is the top 5 are diabetes, obesity, no physical activity, excessive alcohol, and smoking. It might be interesting to know that smoking is not at the top of the list. It's diabetes. And that comes from being obese, or could be an inherited type 2, type 1 rather, or whatever. I don't really understand diabetes. It doesn't run in my family, thank goodness. I'm blessed for that. So that will be another discussion another day. Okay, now I'm going to run out of time. So what I want you to do is make another list. You need to get a yearly physical. And if you have problems, you need to see the doctor repeatedly throughout the year if he's treating you. And you need to have tests to see if the medication is working, or the implant, like for hearts, you can get a Walkman inserted in your chest now. And that cuts down on the blood thinners. You can get something inserted for sleep apnea instead of wearing a mask. So if you have something like that, you need to see your doctor much more frequently, of course. So schedule once a year, and it's a good reminder to do it on your birthday. Now, we're kind of goofed up because we moved here, and lo and behold, we had to change our Medicare. that's a whole nother subject for me, because I think it's stupid to have Medicare differently in each state instead of nationally. And I'm not in favor of national health care plans, but we need something to help us. I don't want to be like Canada. All right, this is what you need to get checked every time you go. All right, you need to have your blood pressure taken, your blood panels taken, which will show you your cholesterol and your B vitamins and your D vitamins and all sorts of vitamins and minerals in your blood. Also, your white and red blood cells, all of this. You need to have a very comprehensive blood test. You need to have your stomach checked to see if you have an abdominal aortic aneurysm, because these have become more prevalent among men 65 to 75 who have smoked more than 100 cigarettes in their lifetime. More than 100 cigarettes? That's like smoking nothing. Okay? Count up how many is in a carton. And when you started, and so many people from Europe started at a very young age. I mean, lots of people here started at a very young age too, but they don't think anything about smoking in Europe. And I think it's because it doesn't affect them as much as over here, because they have the Mediterranean diet and they walk everywhere. So check that out for an aneurysm in your aorta. It goes down through your stomach, and the aorta is very important. We'll talk about that in another show. Also, you get your blood pressure taken, and you'll know what it's supposed to be when you go in there. And they'll tell you if it's high or it's low. Cholesterol, that comes out of your blood test, okay? But remember what I said. We'll give the averages and all when we talk about cholesterol on another show. Diabetes, they'll check your blood. Excuse me, the sugar in your blood. And they'll let you know if you're heading towards diabetes, which would be type 2 diabetes. And that's how you check to see if your blood sugar level is going up or down. That's why it doesn't necessarily come from sugar. It could come from fruit. It could come from anything. Something else you might be eating. So you want to have that checked also in your blood test. Now, I hate to tell you, but between the ages of 45 and above, every 5 years, you should get a colonoscopy to check for colon cancer, rectal cancer, and all of the plumbing down there. If you have somebody who was diagnosed with colon cancer, like your mother, maybe at 35, then you should start getting a colonoscopy every 5 years at 25. Regardless of what it says at 45, because you have cancer. That's like women with the BRCA gene. Their mother or their auntie has breast cancer, and they've discovered that there is a gene that is passed on, the BRCA gene, that can cause breast cancer. So you have to go have a mammogram much more often than somebody who doesn't have that. So similarly, the colon cancer needs to be checked more often. And if you have any kind of little polyp, you tell them to take it out. You want it biopsied, because some people will think it could be diverticulitis or something. You want to make sure you have good people looking at you, not fly-by-night doctors, okay? And there are some out there. You can check on the internet to see if your doctor has any lawsuits against them or anything. So check out your doctors before you go. You should start being screened, unless you have it in your family, for prostate cancer at the age of 50. So everybody I know is at the age of 50 or above, that's for sure. And the other thing is lung cancer. If you're a smoker, you definitely have to be checked for lung cancer. And if you've been smoking 20 packs a year, you currently smoke, or even if you quit in the last 15 years, you need to be screened for lung cancer. One of the things I talked about is suicide and depression, and I just want to leave you with this last note. If you have depression and you're not sure you do, or if somebody you love is in a depressed state, and because suicide is prominent, more men commit suicide than women, you want to try to deal with your depression. You should be seeing a professional, but on your own, you should do these things also. You need to get regular, good exercise. And that, you don't have to go running a marathon to get exercise. Go out and run around your block. Go to the local park. Go to the beach. Anywhere. Just take a little walk, okay? Try a quarter of a mile, then a half a mile, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Just work up to something, just so you're moving around and getting some exercise. It'll change your thinking well enough. And you can journal and you can write down what's bothering you and depressing you. Communicate with your family and friends. Maybe they can help you find professional help, because that's what you need. Okay? You can't fight some of these things on your own. You do need professional help, and there is nothing wrong with that. So if you don't want to take your statins anymore and you discuss it with your doctor, you can control it pretty well with red yeast rice. Red rice yeast. I always get it backwards. Okay? That's what I take. No muscle hurting, no weak muscles. And unfortunately, as you get older, you need to take some things, but try to stay off the pills. You go into some older people's homes and they have like 10 bottles of pills there. They don't even know what they're taking, and some of them could be interacting, and they could actually kill you. So watch what you're doing. Go get your yearly physical. Around your birthday is the best time to do it. You'll never forget it after I told you that. Take a look at that video on Fox News, Dr. Siegel with the host Lisa, and watch the little video. It's actually not of a person, it's a drawing. So do that. Live a long, healthy life. We like to have everybody healthy, and that will make you feel a whole lot better if you know you're healthy. So go get that physical, men and women. All right, thank you for joining me today. I always appreciate you being here. I hope you learned something, and I hope you'll take care of yourself. And in the meantime, don't forget, cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, and live today.